Hello and welcome to Bear Football here on the Barroom Network. John Buffone alongside Shimon and Coach T will be joining us momentarily. The Bears fall to the Packers in Week 1, 38-20, in what can only be described as a pretty pathetic day, a very awful game to watch. Not a lot to take away from this game. You know, Danny, you can spend all the money in the world. You can bring in free agents. You can have a new roster from top to bottom, but you know what? Some things just don't change. And this, from start to finish, this team looked like it was just getting beat down. Looks like at some point they were loafing. The sidelines had no energy. This was just about as bad as a Week 1 can possibly go. This looked like I was watching the same exact team from 19, 20, 21. You name it, it's the same thing with different players. Justin Fields goes for 189 yards, a touchdown and a pick, 21-31. Meanwhile, Jordan Love goes for 27 for 245 yards, 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, as you see on the graphics there. I'm not saying this was all on Justin Fields, but I think that there was some pretty bad. They had 7 months to game plan for this game, Danny? And this is what they rolled out there. I don't know what the defensive strategy was. I don't know what the offensive strategy was. I don't know what they thought they were going to do. I hope somebody actually asked that question in the press conference. What did you think you were going to do? What was the game plan that you had 7 months to devise? What did you actually think you were going to do? Because I'd love to hear that, because it looked like Alan Williams had it on cruise control from start to finish. Just say, he was the Ronco rotisserie. Set it and forget it. I don't want to do anything to it the entire game. What's your initial takeaway?
Well, I mean, I wanted you to kind of rant there and just keep going, because I had so much frustration, and I know I can't do it as much justice as you can in terms of getting all that anger out there. But it's like, I'm pissed. I mean, as a fan, I'm embarrassed. I am pissed. As an analyst, I sit there and I'm like, this is what you game plan. You had all off season, and this is the team. This is what you came out here, Luke Getsy, with. I mean, and Alan Williams. Don't let me get started on this guy. I mean, I feel like I just kind of, I'm a record here, broken record, keep repeating myself in terms of Alan Williams. And I was upset with him last year, but again, the entire coaching staff, we kind of gave him a pass because of we knew what they're doing, but now it's like. And not that we expected the Bears to go out there and compete for a Super Bowl or win the NFC or win the NFC, but it's just like there was this hype around this team. There was the excitement around bringing in these players, being young and creative, and now finally the big bad wolf is out of the art division. Aaron Rodgers out of New York. We got a young rookie, not rookie, but a third-year quarterback making his first opening week start. Has his weapons are either first or second year players. His best receiver was out, and you still get embarrassed. And this wasn't just an embarrassment on the field. This is an embarrassment from the top bottom, because the Packers is the way you run an organization from top to bottom. The Bears are just, you can see this is a patchwork of hiring a president here, hiring a GM here, firing a coach here, hiring a new coach here, then firing the GM. And then it's like patchwork here and there. A GM comes in and he tears it down to the studs last year, and now he's trying to rebuild it back up again. But does he have the right coaching staff to build it back up again? Poles might have the right plan, but in terms of the coaching staff, we don't know anything, and we all gave him a pass for last year, guys. This was really an indictment for me. Indictment on the entire coaching staff, from Luke Getsy to that horrible game plan he had, for this first game. Alan Williams, I don't know if he's actually a defensive coordinator, or if just defensive coordinator in name only, and it's actually Eberflus, coordinating this whole thing. But he doesn't have a card in his hand. So so I'm assuming Alan Williams is making all the defensive play calls. This cover, this cover 2, Tampa 2, whatever you want to call it, that damn defense. It's old. They know how to beat it. They can beat it in the middle. Look up the tape. All the big plays for the Packers was in the middle, right? Yeah, they keep beating them in the middle, and I feel like I just keep coming out here repeating myself over and over again. I'm just tired. I'm embarrassed as a fan. As an analyst, you're like, you kind of throw up your hands like, all right, what can they do now? It is one game. Kind of put back my analyst hat here. It is one game. A lot of, things happen week 1. We saw Joe Burrow and the Bengals struggle mightily with all that firepower on offense in Cleveland. But again, that was in Cleveland and bad weather on the road. Burrow hadn't practiced the entire preseason. He was nursing an injury. This is why, I wanted the Bears to play their starters in the preseason, get some continuity, get some momentum going into the season. They came out flat. The game plan was flat. The coaching staff was flat. They were outcoached. Everything on the football field and even in the freaking management booth, because it's just a total embarrassment.
I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our new analyst on Bear Football, Coach T. Coach T, welcome to the program. We're talking about initial reactions right from this game. You know what? The table was set for the Bears to win this game, Coach. They were favored. They were at home. They're going against Jordan Love, who's, probably has a lot of pressure to, step into the shoes of Aaron Rodgers. Christian Watson's not playing. They have all these free agents. It's a new attitude, a new roster. Everything was on the table for this team to actually compete. Maybe it's a close game and they come up short, but they got beaten down today. What did you see out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Danny was probably alluding to what I was going to get to. My first thought is what I said going into the preseason on so many other platforms. The challenge was Luke Getsy, man. I was really concerned about Luke Getsy coming into the season just because of some things I saw during the season last year. And then even when we had supposedly changed or revised the offense towards the end of the season to adapt more to Justin's skill set, there were still some glaring holes in his offensive scheme that concerned me, right? So where are the digs? Where are the slants? Where are the outs? Where are the curls? Where are the rub routes? Where are the pick routes? Where are the things that allow receivers to easily get opens, the nickels that we call, right? You say 2 nickels makes a dime, right? The goal is 10 yards for first down and move the chains, right? But where are the nickels that make up the dimes, right? He seems to have a bipolar sense of offensive concepts, right? It's either the quick screens, the check downs, or some long and intermediate game, right? That concerns me. There was no play call set up. So what you look for is an offensive play caller, right? I get a little bit loopy on defense, but offense is my hallmark, right? So you look to feel the game when you're watching the game as an offensive play caller, and you look to see a nice story told, right? The plays are set up off other plays. There was no continuity between plays where I saw where he may have run power plays or even the zone schemes, right? Where you ran the zone play a number of times and then you booted off the zone a number of times, right? The plays weren't correctly put together. And it was a disaster, man.
So, I want to bring up a quote that I think PZ put out there. Is this a rerun from 2022? And that's exactly how it feels, because I feel like we're talking about the same thing over and over again for the past 3 years. But, you in a part of that big trade for the number 1 pick, you bring in DJ Moore, and I believe 2 targets today. He caught both of them, but 2 targets today. Danny, is that game plan? Is that Fields? Is that what is that? Because that can't happen. If you're going to go in part of this big trade where you bring in DJ Moore to be your stud receiver, and you got Mooney and Claypool as the 2 and 3, you think that your number 1 receiver is going to be the leader in targets and he's going to be able to eat. And I saw a bunch of screen passes.
Well, for me, John, and I'm not going to be the guy that sit here after week 1, after a disaster of a performance, say like, I told you so. But when the trade was made, I wasn't, everybody's harping on DJ Moore being this number one receiver based off of what? Based off of the stats the fantasy stats he put up in Carolina. So that's the thing is like DJ Moore, he had to come in here. He had to prove to me that he's actually a number 1 receiver. And guess what? Week 1, off to a bad start because he had Jair Alexander, a Pro Bowl, all-pro corner, shadowing him from side to side, and he couldn't break free. Now, there were a couple of times where you can say, maybe he was open here, open there, but again, he was a non-factor in this game. Okay, he's got to prove to me that he actually is a number 1 receiver. He's a very talented receiver. He's got a lot of skill set, but being a number 1 receiver and being talented, 2 different things. When you're a number 1 receiver, you're a dog. You're a guy that can go out there and beat the best coverage, whether it's the best corner or even some double teams. And he's got to prove a lot to me today. But today, for me, from what I saw, was Jair Alexander followed him, shadowed him from sideline to sideline, and he couldn't really breathe there, except for that one drive where he got a couple passes. Other than that, DJ Moore was a no factor today in the football game.
Coach, on the offensive side of the ball, they didn't seem to push it down the field at all. Is that because of the offensive line struggles, or was that a game plan, or why did we not see as many explosive plays as we thought we might see when you have speed like Darnell Mooney and DJ Moore and the backfield and Claypool's vertical ability? Why was there not more of a vertical game? Are they just are they unable to do that?
Well, I'm going to take a step back to your question you just asked Danny, right, about the DJ Moore aspect of it, right? There's more ways to get DJ the ball besides throwing the ball downfield, right? I look at DJ, even if he's an unproven commodity as a number one receiver. I think the announcer said it during the game. DJ is a running back playing wide receiver, so I would use him kind of like your guy in San Francisco. I'm drawing a blank right now. Debo, right? So, even if I got to give him the ball on jet sweeps, right, get him some carries from the backfield, you have to use DJ if you're going to call him your number one receiver. You have to play 3-card Monty with DJ and move him around the field, right, and get him the ball in a number of different ways, right, to get his hand, get him comfortable with the game, and then also get your opponent worrying about DJ in those different positions where he's hurting them. Just lining up and handing the ball to the running backs, that's pee-wee football, right? We know the running back is going to carry the ball. Everybody knows that. But if your running backs are receivers and your receivers are running backs, then you start getting the defense to thinking. I think when it comes to the lone game, I think there was a little bit trepidation around the protection plan, right? And it goes back to what I said about Khalil Herbert. It's not so much for me as a play caller, do I always worry about the front five? Yeah, can you win on your one-on-one blocks with your front five? But also, if I can't, it's my responsibility as an offensive coordinator to say, okay, do I go to 60 protection or 70 protection or 6-man and 7-man protection? And then when you got to go 6-man and 7-man protection with the running back, are you comfortable with Khalil Herbert back there protecting? I'm not.
Yeah, but I mean, in fairness, Coach T, Khalil Herbert didn't get run over today. It was the offensive line. It was the prize rookie that everyone's saying is going to be an all-pro right tackle. He got beat a couple of times. Nate Davis, the high-price free agent signing, he got beat a couple of times. Let me get started on Lucas Patrick again, and then I love Braxton Jones, but he had a bad game today. I mean, the whole offensive line, to be fair, they all suck today. So to pin on Khalil Herbert didn't have anything in terms of, he never got run over by a linebacker. I didn't see him get run over in terms of pass protection. So it's not fair to pin him out.
Yeah. I'm defaulting passing because I really didn't pay attention. Like, I'm be honest with you, I didn't from what I saw, and I didn't squarely focus on the offensive line. I didn't think the O-line play was horrible. It may look different on film, but again, I'm thinking still you can't go into an NFL game with the 5-man protection as your primary protection plan unless you're planning to get the ball out of your hands quick, right? You got a rookie, you got some holes and some injuries up there. You can't go into the game with your scheme or your game plan as, hey, I'm gonna go 5-man protection the entire game, a la Matt Nagy, right? I don't care how far I'm throwing the ball down the field. I plan to protect with 5-man, even if I got 15, 20-yard routes. Matt Nagy, I would have to look at the film and I would specifically point out, okay, yeah, we were getting killed up front, but still, even with that, I'm going 6. You start adding body to the protection plan to help shore it up. It's football 101.
Yeah, and I don't want to blame one person, one player, one unit. The whole team sucked. The whole team was bad today. Offense, defense, special teams was horrible today. But the O-line was just atrocious. I mean, every time Justin went back there, if he kind of held on to the football a little bit longer, trying to get someone open downfield, guess what? He had man in his face. And Justin too was bad today. And I'm an adamant, Justin Fields fan. I always defend him here, but today he was bad. I mean, he made some plays with his legs again, and he was a leading rusher again for the Bears. That's not what we wanted to see, right? And again, but there was the interception to Mooney. He stared Mooney down, and I was like, dude, you got to get rid of that football. You got to get rid of football. And if your offensive line is bad, this is a timing and rhythm offense. 1, 2, 3, your third step, that back foot hits, that ball's got to be out of there. Yeah, and then that's the thing is like he again was holding on to the ball a bit longer than I anticipated, especially when they fell back. I think maybe that like he has some added pressure to himself. Maybe he wants to kind of create big plays. But I think it's like you got to stay within the offense, and even if you're down by 2 scores, you got to continue to kind of follow the game plan and not kind of go out off the reservation, if you will, there, just to kind of keep going and moving the football down a football field. So I guess that for me that gut punch was once the Bears got that second half touchdown to Mooney and it was within 10. And then they just came back and scored just like nothing happened. It was just like that was a gut punch. And now I think Justin came back on. That's when he threw that pick 6. And again, that's when he was trying to make things happen. You just can't do that. You can't do it.
It all has to work in continuity, right? I remember a few years ago when we were like, our quarterback at the time during the Matt Nagy era, Mitch was so terrible. He's holding on to the ball, right? This is why watching the film is so important, right? So if the O-line if we're in 5-man protection and you got a 15-20-yard route combo on, right? And you're in 5-man protection and you're waiting on routes to develop, right? You will hold the ball. But remember, my first take was, where are the slants? Where are the digs? Where's the outs? Where's the rub? Where are the curls? Those three-step drops with 5-man protection, they're a match. You have to match your protection scheme with your route combination. So, I don't want to overreact to the O-line play right now until I see it. But one thing I know for sure, that number 24 does not like the pass pro. And I'm anxious to see how it shows up on film. And I really believe the one drive where we actually scored a touchdown on the pass play, I believe we were trying to let Roschon Johnson come into the game to get him some carries so it wouldn't be a dead giveaway that, hey, you know what I'm saying, this is the guy that we truly trust down in and down out. And I wouldn't be surprised going forward that we might see him as the guy moving forward because he's going to be probably a better all-around back.
That's what I was going to ask both of you. Do you think that if we're taking anything out of this game, is it maybe that Roschon Johnson's going to he didn't play basically at all in the first half, and then they started working him in once the game was kind of getting out of hand. But do you think that all of a sudden Roschon Johnson might be, because we saw a split between Foreman and Herbert in the first half? You see the carries there on the graphic. Khalil Herbert 9 for 27, Foreman 5 for 16, and eventually Roschon Johnson 5 for 20 and the touchdown. Do we maybe see some of those numbers skew next week? Where is it less Foreman or less Herbert? Who would you trot out there next week, Danny? Or do you keep Herbert in that lead role until you really have to make a change?
Yeah, I don't want to make wholesale changes right away to kind of flip the whole depth chart right now. But I mean, yeah, Roschon Johnson came out there and gave him a little spark, especially that drive again when they put that that touchdown on the board. So I definitely like to see him get some opportunities. But to just say Khalil Herbert gets benched or Dante Foreman gets benched, it's not something, because when they had positive runs in the game as well. I mean, Herbert had some good runs, Foreman had a couple first downs. So I just think that the whole unit as a whole, the offense, it was just not they weren't functioning. They weren't in sync. And again, I go back to preseason. I wanted to see them get more snaps. I wanted them to see at least play a half in a couple of those games to get guys out there and kind of get some of that rhythm going there. The offensive line being bad today was really disappointing. I was really hoping that the Bears would come in and just kind of pound the football, run it down the throats of the Packers defense there. Make them force the Bears to prove to the Bears that they cannot run the ball against them. And then you would see then the Bears hopefully establish the run and then go off that play action and not strike downfield. But obviously that didn't happen. Bears fell behind. And next thing you know, now like the coach here was saying, like now they're looking to develop these longer routes downfield. The pass rush was getting to the quarterback. Balls are being held on a little bit too long, and now he's forcing balls and it was just downhill from there. But just that second half when they got back into the game, when they were able to, defense wasn't able to stop. And I know we'll get the defense later on, but that was just a gut punch. And I think that it was just downhill from there.
Coach, your thoughts on the running back room? Should it stay the same, or should Johnson get a little more play early in the next week?
Yeah, I'm giving him more play. And here's the thing: it's not just him. The idea is the guy that I can go into the game with, and regardless, it's just not running the ball. It's the guy that gives me the all-around game, right? So if Johnson is a little bit less of a runner, but he is a better pass protector, I'm putting him in the game, right? Because now it's not a tail, right? So If I'm playing Khalil Herbert only to run, it's a tail. Defense comes in, he trots on the field, we know he's running the ball. Johnson trots on, I know I'm passing the ball. So if he gives me a little bit more edge in the passing game, and that's why I called out the one particular play on the touchdown, because when Roshan was in the game, I heard Justin yell out 77, 77, which at that time he changed the protection. And if you remember that play, Cole Kmet stayed in and Johnson stayed in for protection. I mean, they had 7-man protection and they had everything blocked up. So if they can do that, then they can have more longer developing plays and be able to throw the ball downfield. But it seems like, again, there's a lack of, like Danny said, from the preseason to translating into today, the last preseason game into today, there's a lack of continuity all around. Dumb penalties, holding penalties. It was just, if you go to what I said pregame, that's what I tweeted out. I was like, listen, at this state of the season, you just want to play clean football. That playing clean football in week 1 is going to keep you out of most bad scenarios, right? And it's a footballism. You got to just play clean football, penalty, mistake-free, no miscues, no fumbles, things like that to keep you in the football game. And we just wet the bed all around offensively.
You know, a lot of people talking in the chat room about Chase Claypool, and it's interesting because you look at this game plan, you look what they tried to do offensively, and do they have the capability of actually feeding 3 receivers? Because right now you saw what DJ Moore put up, you saw what Darnell Mooney was able to accomplish, and Chase Claypool, I think, maybe had a target, maybe 2, didn't come down with either one of them. As you look at the receiving there, Darnell Mooney led the wide receivers with 4. And then we saw DJ Moore with his 2 catches. Does this team actually have the capability of sustaining 3 wide receivers that are going to put up actual productive numbers? What is going to be Chase Claypool's role here, if any, moving forward? Coach, I'll start with you, then Danny, please jump in.
Yeah, if they don't do something fast, you know what I'm saying, the natives are going to get restless and it's going to be a problem, right? And this is what I was talking about in the short game. With somebody, in my mind, with somebody as biggest frame as that, it's easy to throw, you know what I'm saying, the quick game, and he can use his body to kind of block out on it, especially the in-breaking stuff, the digs, the slants and stuff like that. He can use his bodies to block out. All of those screen plays should be some kind of short intermediate pass that's like a 5-yard in-breaking or out-breaking route. He shouldn't be calling all those screens back to back. That's a 1 or 2, you know what I'm saying? That's ketchup and mustard. That's condiments. You don't sit down and eat a plate full of condiments, right? You're going to get yourself about 2 or 3 screen passes during the game, and it's over. You have to have a scheme that encompasses the entire route tree. So as I go through the film this week, I'm going to let you know, okay, this is where the gaps were in the route tree, right? So we break down the O-line play. I'll look at the route trees or the routes, and I'll let you know, okay, this is where the holes were in the route tree. And if it's anything like last week, it's going to be the route combinations that I threw out earlier. He just doesn't call those routes, or we don't hit him. Something is off.
Danny, what do you think about Chase Claypool's use or his future, or is it him, the play calling, the scheme, or is it just the perfect storm of everything? Where, let's not forget that the Bears basically gave up the equivalent of a first-round pick to bring this guy in, and 0 catches is not a very good return on investment for week 1. I'm not trying to say this is what it's going to be the entire season, but you'd like to see some kind of indication that his usage is going to be up.
Right, John. I was done with Claypool on that one bubble smoke screen where they threw it to Darnell, and he didn't even effort to block that guy. The defender went literally right through Claypool and got to Darnell Mooney. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Right there, if I was a coach, I would have yanked them off the football field and say, you know what, you're not going to give me effort like that as a blocker, because you know you're not getting the ball. You have other jobs out there, other responsibilities out there, and that was just really pathetic in terms of his effort for Claypool. So that really turned me off about Chase Claypool. Now, in terms of talent, he's got the talent, he's got the body, he's got the the big a catch radius, and he's got the ability to make plays down the football field. But in terms of why he was not targeted at all, unfortunately, I just don't know. I don't know if it's just got to go look at the film. I don't know if it's just the concept. It was what number of read was he in a progression. Was he open? Was he covered? I didn't really see him, in terms of, getting active out there. So that the whole thing was disappointing. Other than Darnell Mooney, and then Cole Kmet was pretty much silent up until the end of that fourth quarter. Why wasn't Cole Kmet utilized more in the passing game as well? So there's a ton of questions. Like I said, this offensive game plan was something that, as I tweeted out, I'm like, this is what Luke Getsy prepared the whole offseason to attack the Packers defense was with this. This is this game plan. And I just feel like in the first half, when we came out here in halftime, I said, you know what? I think he felt like he was he's a guy with a kid with new toys. He's like, I'm going to show my toys off to my friends. And then when we put together a concise, thorough game plan that was going to be effective against this defense, I think he just kind of like hodgepodge it. And that's unfortunate because now it's like there's question marks about that side of the football now. Obviously, there's question marks about the defensive side of the football as well. So now it's like, okay, where do we go from here? Again, it's week one. Don't want to overreact. But right now, it's like, my fan anger is kind of dipping into my analyst, side of me. And it's like, all right, let's take it down. Let's take it down a notch. It's only one game. It's very disappointing. If you don't beat the Packers now, when the hell are you going to beat the Packers? Right. Is that what I'm trying to say here? And it just, it's, in terms of play pool, there's a lot of questions. In terms of the offense, a hell lot of questions.
John, I know we need to move on to D, but that's going to be the emphasis of me the whole season. I'm going to talk about the coordinators all season. Because with a slight upgrade in talent, you should be able to have some evidence of competent football, right? On either side of the ball. We should be able to look at offensively and say, hey, Luke is painting a nice story. He's telling a nice story with his play calling. You can feel football, right? You can feel it. You can feel, okay, I've been going outside zone, and gashing them. You know what I'm saying? The boot off the outside zone is coming. Or I've been going power. The counter play is coming. Or the boot action off a counter and power is coming, right? You can feel what's coming. And I could feel absolutely nothing with the play calling today. Absolutely nothing.
Nah, and that started from the very beginning when you have a Cole Kmet quarterback sneak on 3rd and 1, and then you call another quarterback.
Waste it down. Yeah, 2 sneaks back to back. Like that was crazy.
And you notice when Green Bay ran a QB sneak, they had somebody pushing Jordan Love in the back to get over the first down threshold. I don't think I saw that in Chicago's attack.
So I'll give you an example, right? So if you're gonna go for it on 4th down, I'm lining up in some kind of formation under center. And if I'm not gonna run the ball up that play, in between the tackles on that play, I'm going up some kind of play action, leaking the fullback out to the flat and getting an easy first down. 2 sneaks back to back is crazy.
Well, they tipped their hand both times. The Packers knew exactly what they were going to do on both of those plays, and it was a complete waste. And it was a tone setter for the wrong reasons right off the bat. That they couldn't pick up 1 yard in 2 plays, and they basically told the Packers what they were going to do. And then that did set the tone for the rest of the game. And Danny, I think you said this. Like if you're not going to beat the Packers today, when are you going to beat them? Because the table was set here, man. I keep saying that, but now you got to wait till week 18 till you see them again, and you hope to God that game actually means something. But you have 17 weeks to stew over this and think, wow, now I gotta wait until almost the next year until we get to see them play the Packers again. This is a gut punch to not just the team and the franchise, but all of the fans who are waiting for this game for 7 months because they wanted to see what this new and improved team was going to look like. They thought they were going to be competitive. They thought they were going to have the edge in a lot of these different things. They were going to have edge at the receiver. They were going to have an edge at quarterback. They're going to have an edge at maybe linebacker. And nothing happened today. Nothing. It was the same story. And that has been for the last 30 years, but they still haven't beaten the Packers yet in the 2020 decade. I think they went 4-17 in the 2010 decade. So that nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. The players are different. The coaching staff is different. The franchise is exactly the same.
Yeah.
What the hell is it going to take?
Yeah, the danger now is, and I appreciate Danny calling out like that, when you have to digress from analyst and coach mode into separate the fan, right? The danger is if more so on the offensive side, right? If Luke can't get it together, right? Justin's legacy is tied to Luke, right?
Yeah.
So if Luke doesn't make it, one, Justin's going to get most of the heat. Quarterback is going to get the heat. But also, what do? Okay, I either fire a head coach, fire OC, But now a OC comes in, you have to learn. It's like you have to learn an entire language over again.
It's the Alex Smith.
Fans don't get that about
here in
football.
Chicago. It gets over and over and over again.
You bring a new OC in, the terminology, some of it translates, but it's like learning an entire language in a matter of 6 months, and you're supposed to go out and operate efficiently. That's not something I want to see. I probably won't watch the games if I gotta,
especially the guy who's coming to the near of his rookie deal. You're not, and he needs to prove whether or not you're going to extend him. You're not going to, in that prove it year, you're not going to just throw him a new system, say figure it out, and earn that new contract. It's just.
The one thing, you can tell when there's an offensive mind that's behind a quarterback. Look at what the Colts did today. They lost, but they had Anthony Richardson, and coming off of 13 career starts in college, and Steichen had him prepared. He had a game plan centered around the talents he had again, that guy had a touchdown passing, touchdown rushing, didn't put up great numbers and they lost, but he looked prepared. He looked like he was comfortable in an offense, and he's only going to grow from there. So that's only week 1. And now as he gets more and more comfortable in the NFL and the system, you're going to see his talents kind of continue to shine. You're going to see more of his ability kind of grow. And I believe in Shane Steichen building that offense around him. I here with Chicago, we thought Getsy was gonna, after that Patriots game last year, that Getsy finally got it. He was going to be able to build something out, in terms of around Justin Fields. I mean, this week 1, this game plan was just, like I said, a gut punch. And I'm like, now I'm questioning everything.
Yeah, I think Frank Reich might have had a better day in Carolina. He might have had a better day with the rookie quarterback. It was just, I watched the game and it was like, I'm like, I see what you're doing. I see what you're trying to do. Everything might not be working because it might be happening a little bit too fast for the kid, but I see what you're trying to get done. Like I said, going back to last year, some of the times I get cringy, naggy moments sometimes with Luke, because I'm like, okay, tell us a story. You know what I'm saying? Make the defense think. You know what I'm saying?
What's the identity of this offense? What's the identity of this offense?
Yeah.
It should be running game. It should be a running attack.
It should be.
It wasn't today, though.
It wasn't.
Nope.
And I think that's that. Okay, if I had to play, let me argue against myself right here, right? And if I had to play advocate for Luke, I think that's where he might have got stumped, because he might have, if he came out and said my whole game plan today is establish the run and we'll play off the run game, and then the run game doesn't work, then what? But as an offensive play caller, for me, and an overthinker, I would have sat myself down and with my other coaches and said, okay, yeah, our main game plan is to go into this thing and run the ball. But guys, what if we can't run the ball? That's what you do with your assistant coaches. You have your assistant coaches sit in the room and argue against your theory, and you come up with a game plan, plan B, and an out to that. Okay, the game plan is to run the ball. It's not working. We're going to game plan. We're going to plan B, right? We're gonna go to the short game. We're gonna spread it out, and we're gonna force Green Bay. We're gonna force one-on-one matchups, and we're gonna let DJ do his thing, or we're gonna let Chase do his thing, or something. But it was no backup plan.
No,
you gotta have these contingencies, man.
Yeah, and there were no contingencies built in. It was like, well, if this doesn't work, then you know what? We're just going to keep doing it. If not, we're screwed. You know what? They were screwed. I do believe before we check it over to defense, I believe we got about 5 minutes worth of Coach Eberflus's post-game press conference. There were some technical difficulties, but we were able to scrap some of that press conference together. So let's go ahead and throw it over to that right now.
And we got to get that cleaned up, because that's something you can improve on by being disciplined and not having those penalties. So last year we were 3rd in the league in penalties. So we can definitely clean that up. That's correctable. Then really for the rest of the game, we got to do a good job defensively. Coming out in the second half. We didn't do a very good job with that. It was those 2 big plays to their premier running back. So those are big plays for those guys. And so overall, I think it's a learning experience for us. There's a lot of football to play. I told the guys, and we have to get back to work tomorrow, look at the corrections, and see where we go from here.
Looking at the mistakes and the penalties and just the score, if somebody came out of this saying the Bears just weren't ready to play today, would you agree with that?
I wouldn't agree with that. No, I wouldn't. The first half we were pretty good, in terms of being ready to play. So the onset of that was good. I don't think we came out in the second half and they executed better than we did. And again, the third downs was a big piece of that today. Some of it's because of penalties, and then execution. We got to get off the field on third down.
What was the thought process behind the Komet play, putting him under center in a series that had been going well up at that point, but that was a gimmicky play at that point in the game?
Yeah, we had done that before. We ran a couple of plays. We've done that with him a few times. Had a couple of plays off of that, so that's worked for us before. And we just had a different motion, a different shift there, and put him behind there.
So some of those other guys getting wide open, like Jones on the backward screen, and then the tight end wide open down the field. Like, what happened on those plays?
Yeah, so the throwback screen, that one, the first one to come out of the second half, we got to do a really good job of boxing that with the corner, and then we need the pursuit inside out. We had some guys there. I think I saw a couple guys miss a tackle or two. I think he might have outran a couple guys. I got to look at the tape, but that's what I first saw on that one. The one that happened late to the tight end, that was a fumbled snap, and that was a hideout play. So the tight end blocks like this and then hides out and then goes up the numbers. And the guys took their eyes onto the quarterback, and we got to stay back in coverage. We got to do a better job there. Yeah.
Are they a lot different offensively now with Love than Rodgers?
I would say no. I would say they're similar. They're very similar. I would not say different.
What do you think of Love today? He was, like you said, on third down, he really seemed to kind of capitalize on some of those plays.
Yeah, I thought for the most part, I think he did well. He did well today, and obviously they executed on third down, and my hat's off to him.
Did you know on the first drive, opening drive of the game, did you decide before third down that you would go for it on fourth if you didn't get it?
Yeah, if it was inches, it was the green light on inches. So it was third and inches, and it was fourth and inches, the green light.
What did you like better about the two sneaks more so than a conventional run when you know those plays?
Inches converts at a sneak converts at a high rate on inches. That's what just by percentage. So that's why we liked it.
What was your assessment of Justin's play today?
I'll have to look at the tape. There's a lot of things that go into it. So I want to look at the tape and dive into it before I make any comments on that.
He had counted for I looked at one point, he was counted from basically 95% of your yards, either through the run or the pass. Mm-hmm. Are you worried? Did he just not get enough support from the other guys today in any way, would you say?
Yeah, like I said, I got to look at the tape. To make a big statement like that, would be, not right for me to say that without watching the tape. So we'll look at it. We're going to make the corrections. We'll see where it is, with everything on offense and defense. And, we'll go through it with, an evaluation process and how we can get better as an offense, defense, and kicking, and then each guy. So that's what we do.
Would how clunky today went make you reevaluate how to approach preseason in terms of getting your starters more snaps together in your offensive line, especially?
Yeah, it would definitely. Obviously you think about that as a head coach, but with the injuries that we did have sustained during training camp, it would be hard to put all the guys in there together for sure. So we always evaluate that every single year.
With how this game ended, is there something that you're most eager to correct moving forward? Is there something?
Better be everything.
Ways something else right now.
Yeah, just the basics of football. Eliminate the penalties. That's going to help us out a lot. Protect the football. That's going to help us out a lot. Take the football away. That's going to give us short fields and give us opportunities. And we've done that really well in practice. Both sides. I plan on seeing that in the future. And going forward. Like I said, this is the first game. This hurts. This is a division opponent. All the guys in there are sick to their stomachs, and all the coaches, everybody, and it's not something that you like. But we also know it's the first game, and we got to get better. We have to improve, and this is a week to week, and we have to. Once this gets over, we got to get to tomorrow, and we got to start moving our eyes forward and move to Tampa Bay.
All right, that's about as much as we have on that. It's probably all that we need. My first inclination is that sounded a lot. That sounded like a lot of, I hate to say this, Matt Nagy deflecting. Look at the tape. Got to look at the tape. Got to look at the tape. You don't have to look at the tape to tell everyone you got your ass kicked today by the Green Bay Packers. Right. You can at least say that. Because that's what the fans saw that. Everyone who was in the stadium saw that. You can just say you got your ass beat and probably got really out-coached today on both sides of the ball. I think you're able to say that. And then you know what? And I did this again. I said this against the former regime when they were here. So I have to bring it up. I said with Matt Nagy, hey, if the offense is really bad and that's your specialty, That's kind of a problem. Matt Eberflus, you came in here as a defensive coordinator. That's supposed to be your specialty. You brought your guys in, and that defense sucks. So what are you bringing to the table right now? Is it clock management? Is it understanding what personnel to put in? Because the defense sucks. I don't know. I don't think you're calling plays, but that's supposed to be your bread and butter. And then the offense is supposed to be another thing with Luke Getsy, but that's supposed to be you, okay? And that, you're bad. You're a bad. If you're a specialty, if you came in here as a defensive maven and you got a head coaching job because of how you handled a defense in Indianapolis, and that's the defense you have on the Chicago Bears, that's kind of an indictment on you, whether it's who you're hiring to be on your staff or how you're handling the personnel or what scheme you're putting out there. So let's talk about the defense, because I don't know I don't know. I wanted someone to ask in the press conference, what was the strategy? What was the scheme? What were you hoping to accomplish with what you're doing? What if everything worked out perfect? If everything worked out exactly how you thought it was going to work out, what was your plan? Because you got no pressure from the front four. You didn't blitz any linebackers, and they still picked your defense apart with Jordan Love. What was I want to know what the strategy was, because it was awful. And if you're going to say I have to look at the tape to realize that was a crap performance, then I'm going to start having to put a little bit more of a microscope on you, because you can say that they were getting picked apart because Jordan Love had time to drink a cup of coffee, take a nap, wave hi to his mom and her seats that Justin Fields gave to her, and say, "Hey, I'm about to throw the ball, Mom. Give me a second," and then throw the ball down the field. I'm tired of watching crap defenses. You don't have to have a top 3, 5, even sometimes 10 defense to win a Super Bowl. That's not how the NFL is designed anymore. But you have to have a decent defense. You have to have a pretty good defense. And you can't give up 3 touchdowns to Jordan Love and over 30 points, and regardless of what the offense doesn't expect to compete. Danny, I know sucks. That you're tired of talking about what Alan Williams' plan is.
This defense sucks.
Do something.
Yeah, I mean that graphic right there just says it all. I mean, when the hire was made, the Eberflus hire was made, and I knew that he came off from that whole Tampa 2 tree. I hated the hire just because I hate that type of defense. That defense is outdated. Now, you could play a version of that cover 2 defense, of the cover 2 shell, and diverse it with, everybody does it. Diverse it with some scheme blitzes. Look at what the Chiefs do. He does a ton of cover 2, but he also diverses it with some designed exotic blitzes, some pressures that you're not expecting. You're not getting to the quarterback with a front 4. You're not. And I don't care, if you brought in who as a defensive end, unless you have an all-pro defensive line, you are not going to get to the quarterback with just his front 4 anymore. You got it, because these quarterbacks, these schemes are quicker, they're faster. 1, 2, 3 balls out of their hands. So you got to fool the quarterbacks. You got to get more exotic and creative. And unfortunately, from what we've seen in a season in 1 game so far, this team just relies on their base scheme. Their Tampa 2 cover, and they'll play a little man. They'll play predominantly zone. They don't disguise anything. They don't confuse anyone. They just play their base. And if you do that, they know how to beat you. The NFL knows how to beat you. It beats you in the middle, and it beats you in the flats, depending on what your safeties do. And today they got beat in the middle. Was a 3rd and 11, 3rd and 14. And then, Jaden Reed gets that 18-yard easy completion. How about the defensive breakdowns in the secondary? First of all, we talked about at halftime with Eddie Jackson taking the bite on that inside or outside kind of jab step by Romeo Doubs and getting beat, getting his, getting across his face mask, getting across and beating it in the inside for that touchdown. And then later on, that what the hell was that Musgrave, wide open, blowing defensive coverage. It looked like, I have to go back and look at it again, but just a quick look at the replay. It looked like Jackson bit again on a different route and left that guy just come up wide open. And because the ball was in, Jordan Love fumbled the ball. Was able, no pressure, able to pick up the ball as he's fumbled it, and then turn around and just fling it down the football field, wide open receiver. I mean, if that right there is just captures or embodies this defensive effort, that play right there embodies the effort that this defense put on the football field today. I don't know, John, if there's anything that that could kind of, lead me to like, all right, get a little bit of hopes up and say, all right, they're going to change. They're going to make this switch. They're going to do this and do that, because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in a season. And again, one game. I hope that they come out next week and they do something different, and they bring a little, some more design blitzes, or they do something to help generate pass rush. If the quarterback is back there, has 7 seconds to get rid of that football, I don't care if you have all Deion Sanders back there playing in your secondary, they're gonna get someone open, and that's what keeps killing this defense over and over again.
Coach, what do you see out there on the defense? I mean, it was just, for me, it could not have been more lackluster.
Yeah. I'm thinking about this from a top down approach, and then also address what you said about Coach's press conference. Right. First of all, coaching is such a good old boy network. Right. You're not gonna say, hey, I didn't have my team ready to play, because what that means, the head coach, didn't have a team play ready. That's on the head coach. Right. Mm-hmm. And then you're not going to address specific incompetence on behalf of your OCs and your DCs, because those are my hires. And then therefore I don't know how to hire people. Right. So you're going to default to go watch the tape. Danny made a great observation, man. Eddie was out of position. I'm thinking of 4 or 5 big plays, key third downs where you need to get off the field, and just saw Eddie was out of position. I don't know if it was a rush or what, but he was just, either overplaying or underplaying situation. He was out of position a lot of times. My concern is with the overall defensive scheme. You know what I'm saying? You, like Danny said, you can play a Tampa 2, mix in cover 2, mix in a lot of even number coverages. But if you know you don't have a defensive front to get there, and I think there's too much reliance upon the front four getting there with a bunch of slants and stunts, right? So you see they're running the stunts, they're running the twist, but if the twists aren't making it, then your scheme is compromised overall. And that's a problem with the quote unquote Tampa 2, right? Or the even number coverages defenses, right? If you heavily relying upon the front four to get there and they don't get there, then the whole defense is compromised, because guess what? Like you said, if Jordan Love can sit out there and pat the ball, or whoever's in that position, hell, John, you could have ran out there and did Jordan Love's job today, right? The way he played today.
I appreciate that.
Right. But the thing about it is, you know what I'm saying? Again, this goes back to even last year with a separate coordinator, different narrative, right? Goes back last year. Okay, even with lesser talent, show us where you manufacture good ball play with lesser talent. So when we get better talent, then we can be reassured that we're going to see a better product on the field. Now I will say, you know what I'm saying, the rookie Tariq Stevenson, he flashed at points. I like his physicality. But again, you gotta use these guys, man. You gotta use these guys in different ways. You got big physical corners. You have Gordon that can come up and blitz. You got safeties that can come down in the box and play. You got to put pressure on the offensive coordinator to compromise their basic scheme. Hell, I would have preferred Alan Williams load the box day and just announce to the other sideline that you will not run the football today, because that's basically what they did to us. They said, okay, you're not going to run the football today. So, again, and to your point, your defense, your hard mark as a head coach was defensive football. Now, I'm a little bit more optimistic on the defensive side, because I feel like this. I hope, and this is hope, Eberflus can go in the defensive room when we're terrible and say, okay, I'm taking over, right? I'm demoting you, and I'm finna get this defense going. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, we can't do that on the offensive side, right?
Right.
That would have to be an outside job. And this is what concerned me about the defensive hire, right? It was just like, the offensive hire as OC. If you're going to be a defensive head coach, go get you a veteran OC that, you know what I'm saying, that's been around the block a few times, that has seen some stuff, that can put you in a better, more competitive situation.
Yeah, and to your point, Coach, I would have rather them just load up the box too, because we haven't seen Jordan Love handle a lot of pressure in professional football, and see how he handles a guy in his face, throwing it with a guy. If you're going to get toasted a few times, but they got toasted anyway. Like, they
Right.
were getting beat anyway. So why not go down saying, we're coming after you? If you're going to beat us, you're going to make a quick decision and you're going to hit the quick route because we're sending the house at you every time. And you're also not running the football. So you're going to have to beat us with big chunks. You're going to have to you're going to have to hit the hot route. You're going to have to hit the right person. And hopefully we get in your face, you make the wrong decision, and we create some turnovers. But they didn't do that. They sat back and said, you know what? Have yourself a day, Jordan Love. We'll give you all the time you need. Make sure you can go through every you need your fourth progression? Sure. Go ahead and hit that guy. That's fine. So I would have get some pressure. You need pressure. And I guess an inexperienced quarterback who you're not sure how he handles that kind of pressure. You said, we're going to ease you into the NFL, Jordan Love. We don't want to make it too hard on you. We don't want to make your first real big serious start too difficult. We're just going to ease you into the NFL. And that's exactly what they did.
I mean, last year, that's what my thing with last year was like you were getting no pressure. It was a lost season. Do it. Try different things. Put some packages in there that just brought out all our pressure. And today, your first half, whatever, and then now you're down, 24-14. You need the ball back. It's 3rd and 8. And I'm like, all right, just bring the house, man. I mean, you're gonna get beat if you sit back there in coverage. What happens? They didn't do anything. Just rushed their damn front four. And then it was 3rd and 8, easy conversion to Jaden Reed for I think 15, 18 yards, something like that, wide open, no pressure whatsoever. And that's the thing. It's like, and then, Dominique Robinson, I understand he's a project, he's a 5th round pick, but that guy, why he still has a roster spot, I don't understand. He does absolutely nothing out there. Absolutely nothing. And you got a guy like Terrell Lewis. Not saying Terrell Lewis is going to be an all-pro or anything like that, but the guy was productive in the preseason. He had 3 sacks, 2 strip sacks, like a guy like that could go ahead and maybe provide some pressure. Or you cut him, you brought in this kid, Kareem from the Colts, play him, dude. What has Dominique Robinson done besides be a Ryan Poles draft pick that makes him earn all these snaps? But he doesn't even sniff a quarterback. So, it was last year, week 1, he had 1.5 sacks, and that's been it. That's been it for Dominique Robinson. So again, I'm not saying cut the guy, he's garbage or anything like that, but let's try different people. And I know it's week 1. I don't want to kind of just say, all right, throw everybody under the bus, but this was really just a big letdown, an embarrassment, like we said, from top down, and I'm just really disappointed. I just would like to see changes. But Coach T, going to your point, I have no confidence in this defensive staff that they're going to make any changes because they're stubborn in their scheme, and they're going to sit there and say, this is how we got to our positions right now. This is what we're going to do. We just need more talents.
Hey, I know we got to get to JF1 clip real fast. I want to make a point real fast about culture, because this is something I've thought but never said out loud. Right? When you sit in the Eberflus pressers, when you sit in the defensive pressers, Alan Williams pressers, like there's and Danny can speak to this, right? Defensive coaches, they have a certain type of personality, right? Danny, you experienced this on staff.
Like
Defensive coaches, they're a little bit, they're probably like one marble away from being locked up, right? I just don't get that from a personality standpoint from Alan Williams. Like, you gotta have, like Danny said, right? You gotta have I'm finna get him today. I'm finna show, listen, the whole back of Jordan Love's jersey is gonna be, we won't be able to recognize the numbers after this game. He should have been looking up at the sky all game, right? We're going to test this kid. We're going to knock him down. Matter of fact, I'll pay for the penalty. I'll pay for the first 15-yarder. That's the mentality and I don't get that from Alan Williams, personality-wise, right? And that leaks into your culture, right? It leaks into you can't play high-level football, especially defensively, and you have this, hey, I'm just auditioning for a head coach job mentality. That's what I get from him. He's like, hey, I'm trying to be articulate and all this other stuff and come across as pressers as head coach ready. But bro, you got to do your job.
And Danny, to your point, I think it's you gotta have an idea. I'd rather the identity be they're going to be ultra aggressive. We're going to have opportunities for big chunks, but we got to watch out because they're going to be sending some dudes. So kind of like whenever you're going up against like a Wink Martindale defense, and it's just like, they may not have the most talent, but they're going to bring it every single game.
Right.
We got to watch out because they're going to blitz the hell out of us. And if we're not careful, our quarterback's going to be, like Coach T said, looking up at the sky the majority of the game. So we have to prepare for that ultra aggressiveness. What do you prepare for when you're going against an Allen Williams defense right now? Well, we know they don't adjust. Let's just pick them apart in the middle of the field because the front four doesn't get any pressure.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's
There's nothing to be afraid of, because now if you put that fear in them, John, like you're mentioning, you put that fear in them. Now the quarterback's got to think at the line of scrimmage. All right, is that corner going to come on a blitz? If he comes, then who's dropping back? And now he's got to think. He's got to drop back, or he's not coming. But you know what? He's looking at that corner. But lo and behold, this linebacker's coming off his blind side. Next thing you know, he's getting sacked for, so you get the quarterback, you get the offensive corners thinking there, what's going on. Even then, you can even drop back into coverage and just kind of fake like you're coming. But if you're just going to be a base, I'm going to bring my 4 guys. I'm going to get pressure. I'm going to drop back in zone, and it's not going to change. It's been 18 games now.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed, and I just have no. I'm not positive in terms of thinking these guys are actually going to do something, change this format around.
And at minimum, you win the war of attrition, right? So if you're going to bring your 4 all game, I can come into a game plan with a simple plan and say, hey, I'm going to wear you out through the run. And I'm going to take you into deep waters, third and fourth quarter. I'm going to let you drown. You're not getting off the ball, right? You're not beating blocks the same way you would in the first and second quarter after you've been drugged in a running game, right? So you just, unless you have, like we boasted prior to the game, to having, right, at least 6 guys deep coming off the bench for that D line, that studs, you're not gonna win with that scheme, right? Those teams like the Giants back in the, I think that was 2000s, 90s, they won because they had about 8 studs playing up front, right?
Yeah, that usually helps.
Yeah.
Let's we got Justin Fields press conference. We'll go to that. We'll react, and then we'll get out of here. So let's go to Justin Fields press conference.
Rhythm starting off early, but
there it is.
I think kind of the moral of the story is that we shot ourselves in the foot so many times. Pre-snap penalties, false starts, holdings, and then when we put ourselves in third and longs, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15. It's hard to convert on that for NFL offense. So I think if we just clean that up, and keep getting better, then we'll be fine. But we definitely got to put ourselves in a better position on 3rd down to convert that. So yeah.
Justin, with DJ, obviously so much talk all offseason, easier said than done to get him involved, but what was the challenge in trying to get him more involved today?
Yeah, I mean, they did cloud him up a little bit, but sure.
Justin, Cole talked about a lack of focus at times. When you're going into week 1 rivalry matchup, how does that happen in week 1 after?
I don't think it was necessarily a lack of focus. I think, are you talking about with the penalties or something, or what?
Yeah, Cole brought it up, yeah.
Like with what specifically, the penalties?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, guys were trying to anticipate the snap, and, they were just a little early. So, I mean, that can happen once. But after that one time, everybody's got to get in line and, straighten that up. So we just got to, straighten that up. So just got to stay focused, like Cole said, and, be locked in each and every play and be present each and every play. So, yeah.
Justin, what were they doing that prevented you from getting other receivers, pushing the ball downfield to other receivers? I know they're shading DJ Moore most of the time, but getting other receivers open downfield, what were they doing that was prohibiting you from doing that?
I mean, Moon caught a ball. So, like, what other receivers are you talking about necessarily? I'm sorry.
Well, Moon, I know just he had one catch, a couple catches, but it seemed like there was a lot of lateral passes as opposed to.
I mean, yeah, that was just the game plan. I think just with those, we just got to do better blocking on the perimeter. So just to set those up, I mean, if you go back and look at the film, if we, block the guys, I mean, those are big chunk plays. Those are 10, 15-yard plays, 10, 15, 20-yard plays. But that was just a game plan, if they weren't going to match. Sorry, we're going to throw it out there and, let our guys work. But just didn't do our best at perimeter blocking, blocking on the edge for our guys to catch the ball and run.
Justin, on the touchdown to Darnell Mooney, it looked like you may have adjusted something before it. Or what did you see on that from the defense, and what you ended up doing?
Yeah, I thought I saw cover 0, so I was just checking the protection, and then I don't know if they checked out late. I don't know if they did a late rotation, but just checked the protection and got us in a better protection if they would have brought cover 0 on that.
So what did you see on the interception?
They were playing cover 2, and I think My progression was left to right. I should have worked DJ. Should have tried to high low the corner over there, but got off of that, and then the two hook defenders. His little gap. Mooney had a basic, and then they closed in. So I mean, that's on me. I gotta, if anything, give DJ a shot on the sideline on that, and it's him or nobody, or just check the ball down to Roshan or Cole on that. But yeah, I was just trying to fit in the window. The window closed, and that's what happened.
Overall, knowing how this game kind of got away in the second half, what bothers you most about the offensive performance today?
Just self-inflicted penalties. Like I said before, it's just it's hard to have success, hard to put yourself in a good position to convert on third downs, score in the red zone if you're hurting yourself. You're 1st and 15, 3rd and 10, and we were backed up for a good period of the game. So just field position. So I think overall, just gotta straighten that up, and then when we do get in the goal zone, we just gotta score touchdowns. So I think that was kind of the most frustrating part, was just getting backed up. Start the drive, and then boom, penalty. We get a nice run, holding. So it's just penalties and self-inflicted wounds.
What are the conversations like with Luke in those moments when you guys are so far backed up, just about trying to give you anything on his play sheet to work out of that?
I mean, of course the playbook shrinks when you're backed up like that. So, in that situation, you really just want to get one first down so you can open the playbook a little bit more. So, so just got to either, get plays, get the run game going a little bit to get that first down to, open your playbook a little bit more, and then you can start pushing the ball downfield a little bit more.
How deflating is this? If it is deflating, just all the build-up all summer at the start of the game to kind of what the result was?
It sucks. It sucks. Rivalry week one, going against the Packers. It sucks. Nobody's in good spirits, but this one hurts. I'm not gonna lie to you. It definitely sucks, but in the grand scheme of things, you have to look at the bigger picture. It's week one. We have 16 games to go in the regular season, so we have a lot of room to improve, a lot of room to grow, and I think that's what we're going to do. As long as we keep that positive attitude, keep just our mentality, just keep going, keep pushing for greatness each and every day, we'll be fine. So, but it definitely hurts, not only because it's the first game of the season and it's a loss, but it's a loss to them. So. Just want to say, sorry to the teammates, all the fans that were rooting for us, and but we'll bounce back. We'll be good. So.
How much of the piece up in the foot today do you guys attribute to maybe not playing a lot in the preseason?
No, that has no correlation. I'll see if it was happening during the play, but we should be able to get on the ball and run the play without false starting. So. It's just self-inflicted stuff, and simple stuff that we can fix. It's just it's nothing major. It's just the little stuff that we can fix, and that we have to be detailed on each and every play. So appreciate you all.
So that was Justin Fields talking. Heard a lot of talking about the game plan. I will say that his recall was phenomenal. He can tell you exactly what was going on with the interception, who was doing what was exactly going on. Now, if you can just as we were recalling that, just not make that mistake again, we can move forward. But I do always appreciate his recall on exactly what everybody was doing on that play. But Coach, you kind of knew that it was going to be a down day for the Bears right out of the gate before the game even started. You had a inkling that it might be a long day. Why exactly was that?
Yeah. This is kind of comical but serious at the same time. It speaks to my last point about culture, right? But if you can cue it up, Aldi, let the people take a look, right? So I already knew it was going to be a rough one, right? When I saw this outfit, it was over for me. My nervous, my anxiety started kicking up already because Justin is my guy, man. But I'm gonna tell you right now, when you're going to war against your hated rival, bro, this is just not it. This is not it. I'm not coming in the pseudo nuptials, wedding, button down, and I don't know what you call those jeans and the pattern on it, bro. I'm coming with camo, and this is joking. It's just, but again, to me, it speaks to the mentality of this club. I don't want to dive too deep into the outfit, but as somebody put it in the comments, hell no. This is just, bro, what is that? What is that? It looks like something that my mom used to cover her formal dining room table with, and that was the room we couldn't go in. We actually didn't eat on any, you know what I'm saying? You only You like, what is that? Like, I don't know, man. Like, this doesn't say I'm going to war versus my hated rival, right? Is it me?
Yo, Coach, I'm going to tell you something. I I needed a laugh today because I don't think I laughed in about 4 hours. And I did not anticipate a fashion breakdown factoring into the fabric of this game. But you know what? You brought it into there. You killed the analysis on there, and you got me believing that it might have had an impact on it. So
yeah. The table. The table cover, dining room table cover with the leather, the see-through like white plastic that went over it. That's what we had too, Coach.
Yeah, you got to put the plastic down first, and then you put the little mesh.
Plastic, and
then you put your formal stuff on top of it, and then you can't even go in that room, right? So
nope, only when guests are over.
Maybe. yeah, right.
I mean, just getting here seriously, like, and going back to what Justin just said, the fact that he owned up to that interception, and we came out like he was staring down Mooney. I said he was staring down Mooney. It looked like he had more on that outside corner route. And he just said, he goes, I should probably gone there to more there. And that's the thing. It's like, he did mention that, in terms of the self-inflicted penalties, and we talked about it a little bit, John, at halftime, which was the false starts, the back-to-back false starts when they had that drive going and trying to put them back behind the chains. And that's just like, you got to get out of that. And that, to me, he disagrees. Justin disagrees. But I think playing in the preseason more, I think helps out. Now, he makes a good point. He goes like, I can understand, maybe executing plays or something like that. But, the pre-snap penalties, stuff like that, I get it. But it's just, the offense seemed out of sync. The game plan sucked. I think you put all together. I think then once they came, they fell behind. Now I think Justin and the offense starting to press, and you saw frustration out there. You saw, we talked about earlier, Claypool not giving effort on that smoke screen to block his guy, allowing that corner to run right through him basically and get to Darnell Mooney. Stuff like that really kind of seeps through. So, and in terms of next week, we talked about next week possibly being an easy game, but hey, the Buccaneers were out there and just beat Minnesota in Minnesota. Next week's gonna be no guarantee either. Now, defensively, talk about Todd Bowles, who's an aggressive play caller who brings design, scheme, will confuse you at the line of scrimmage. They got some dudes out there on defense in Tampa Bay, and then the way Baker Mayfield played today with this defense that gets no pressure, you go 0-2. I mean, we're talking about now where there's some questions about Eberflus and his staff. I mean, serious questions. And then going back to what Coach T was talking about earlier, if that happens, now you bring in a whole new staff, and now Justin again is behind the 8 ball, learning. And now if he struggles, and it's just a vicious cycle. And I think until we get it right from the top all the way down to the bottom, it's going to continue to be this way. We're going to continue churning out good players. They're going to come here, they're going to fail, and they're going to be called busts, and they're going to be let go, but not given a real fair shot. And I think this is where I think this next week. So to me, this was a must win. This week was a must win, even though it was week 1. As a fan, as an analyst, I said the Bears got to go on. They got to put their foot down. Say, hey, listen, Green Bay, the big bad wolf is gone. We're here. We're going to compete. Not saying they're going to win the division, but we're going to compete against you guys. It's done. This whole losing to Green Bay thing is done. But no, it was the total opposite. It's just kind of back to square one here. Now you lose to Tampa, all right? And I think week 3 is KC, if I'm mistaken, John. That's at KC. Yeah. You go 0-3. Dude, there's some questions going to be on there. There's going to be a lot of pressure on a lot of, the seats are going to be hot, on fire. And I'm not saying Poles is going to be necessarily kicked out, but I think we're starting looking at Eberflus, and again, that starts a vicious cycle of hiring a new person, a new coach, a new staff, a new offensive coordinator. Now Justin's learning a whole new system again. It's just a vicious cycle we have here in Chicago.
And does that new I'm not trying to get way too far down the road. We're already talking about a new coach, and it's week 1, so let's not go too far. But just to compliment your point, Danny, if that new coach does not want Justin Fields, they do have 2 first-round picks that they could use on a different quarterback in a very quarterback-heavy draft coming up. But that's a conversation for far down the line. We're not close to there yet. But to your other point, there ain't no easy games on this schedule if this is how this team's going to play. There ain't no easy games on this schedule for the entire year if that's how they're going to play. They're going to have to beat lesser teams. There's going to be a dogfight with teams they should beat, but they're playing. This is how they're going to play.
Right.
Ain't no easy games.
And John, we can talk about the nuance that leads to those conversations, though, right? And I know I made a joke about the outfit, but it's kind of a telltale sign, right? You see, I had this question again, didn't bring it up prior to the season, but I was concerned about the physicality of this team, the toughness of this team. Like culturally, yeah, I know we have hits, right? But culturally, is this team tough? Is this a punch you in the mouth type of team? Danny brought up the coordinator in Tampa. I was at that game 2 years ago in Tampa with my dad, and Todd Bowles came after Justin with every blitz, every exact blitz you can think of. It was no mercy. It was the type of game you would have wanted to see today versus Jordan Love in his first real start in this rivalry, to send a message to him and say, hey, buddy, you might be here 3 or 4 years, but this is what it's going to feel like. And it didn't have that. So now we get to go see that on the road versus Tampa. You know, I'm concerned about the mentality. I'm concerned about, this is Chicago, man. This is, you know what I'm saying? It's a punch you in the mouth type of city. Like,
Coach, I said this when the Lion, and I remember this after Homer just commented, I like the Detroit coach. But because I said this when they hired Dan Campbell in Detroit. I don't know what kind of head coach he's going to be, but I'd want to play for him. And
right.
then, because those players embody his spirit of knockdown. We may not be the most talented, but we're going to punch you in the mouth kind of mentality, because he sets that tone with his culture, with his mentality, with his coaching strategy. And I still don't know what kind of head coach Dan Campbell really is, but right. I still know that I'd like to play for him, and I'd probably run through a brick wall for him. Right. I don't know. I don't know if this coaching staff really inspires that with their players.
The one thing they could do, I'm sorry, John, the one thing they could do offensively, and I think this is something they got away from today, was they got to use Justin more now at running the football. You just noticed today that I think there was one design play. It was like a quarterback power up the middle. It was like went for negative yards. They got us, and I know they want to kind of build them in the pocket, but you got to put that in there. You got to put that thread in there, because what happens now is now you get the defense on the heels a little bit. Now that opens up your passing game. And I know the emphasis again was just on Justin making plays from the pocket, and that's fine. We could do that, but you got to get a win. You got to get some momentum. You got to get this offense kind of clicking here. And what happened last year when this offense started putting up points was Justin was being used more as a runner. And even though I don't want to do it, I have to do it. And then just a quick comment. I thought someone in the chat put down, let's admit Justin's a bust. Guys, if you watch this game, Justin had a bad game. I'm not going to defend Justin in terms of, he had a great game or anything. He was 95 or 90% of your offensive output today, guys. 95 or 90% of your offense in terms of running the ball, throwing the ball, all that stuff. He threw a bad pick. Yes, he had that fumble. Yes, but, if there's those mistakes, he's going to have to get over. But he's 90% of your offense. So you got to come back and say, all right, if this guy's making plays, why isn't everyone else making plays, right? So that's the thing, is like we got to go back and kind of take a look at everything here.
That's right. All right, we're gonna wrap this up. I think we've talked about this game as much as anybody wants to talk about this game. But we can start looking forward to Tampa Bay. Although this one hurts pretty bad. They got another game in a week. Let's do some parting shots, and then we'll take this home. Coach, I'll throw it to you first, and then Danny, you can give us your parting shot, and then I'll wrap this up. I'll put a bow on it. So, Coach, go ahead.
Over the next 2 or 3 weeks, man, I want to find out who our dogs are. I know we're missing one in Tevin Jenkins, and I know he won't be back for another 3 or 4 weeks, but we need to find some dogs on both offense and defense that bring that presence. It came up during preseason, during camp, that even our defense was picking on our offense a little bit, right? Because they didn't have that personality, man. But we need to find some dogs on both sides of the ball, some guys that understand the nature of football and can play football the right way. And hopefully this coaching staff can shift from being a intellectual minded coaching staff to one that's more physicality minded, so we can play Chicago style football.
All right, Danny, your parting shot on this game.
Yeah, this was disappointing. This was the gut wrench, a gut punch, whatever you want to call it. It's a downer. But the one thing I just want to say, the Bears started off last year 1-0, and they had a horrible season. In 2018, when they won the division, they lost a heartbreaker in Green Bay on the road, and came back and won the division. So it doesn't make, one game doesn't make a season, especially opening week. In opening week, there's a lot of things happen open week that kind of, they call opening week, week one a liar. A lot of things happen that teams look bad that actually end up being good. Teams look good, end up being bad. So that's a positive about it. But the negative is the things that I think will fix this team. A more aggressive approach on defense from the coaching staff, a little bit more creativity on offense in terms of, let's rely a little bit more on the running game, and then let's build off of that in terms of the pass game. And let's get your guys involved, whether it's, Justin said today, the game plan was kind of more, not vertically, more horizontally, going to get these, sideline kind of plays. So let's see what happens here, how they adjust here. But if it they got to come out, they got to put some points on the board, and that defense has to generate some pressure. If it's not going to happen with the front four, they're going to have to bring some additional pressure. I just hope that Eberflus or someone, he comes out and says, you know what, we got to change things up here a little bit. We got to, provide our offense an opportunity here to get the ball on a shorter field, create some turnovers, get the ball back from the offense, and not just give up these easy chunk plays and put the offense behind the 8 ball, and not put the pressure and onus all on one player or a couple players on offense. So we'll see what happens. It is just one game, but this really sucked.
Yeah, my final thought on this was, I told myself you shouldn't get too emotional about a week 1 game, but I was probably going to get too emotional about a week 1 game for a number of reasons. One, we waited all year to see what this new look Bears defense was going to look like, this new and improved Bears roster that was totally different from last year. They looked exactly the same. It was week 1 against the Packers, who no longer had Aaron Rodgers, an opportunity to turn the current trend in this rivalry. But instead, it's 9 straight victories for the Packers, and the Bears haven't beaten Green Bay since 2018. It was an opportunity for Justin Fields to go one-up on Jordan Love in this series that I'm sure people are going to be keeping tabs of. Love versus Fields. Well, Fields is down 0-1, even though, you can't just say it's quarterback versus quarterback, but that's how people are going to tally it. Also, you have to wait 17 more weeks to play Green Bay, and I'm tired of losing to Green Bay, but it's happening way too often. Why can't they beat this team? And why can't they show real signs of improvement? Maybe they will get better. Maybe this was just an outlier, but this was an incredibly important game for not just the team, but for the fans to see that something was going to change. And it looked exactly the same. It looked like it was 2020. It looked like it was 2019. It looked like it was 2022. It was the same result, and it's just sickening. It's sickening because although I'm looking forward to going for the Bears to get another game against Tampa Bay, this one is going to just stick with me for a while because they're just, that the Bears are still the little brother in this rivalry. It's now the national narrative is, look, the Bears rebuild not doing what it's supposed to do. Look, even without Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay owns Chicago. Look, the Bears aren't, their arc is lower than Green Bay. Green Bay is Green Bay a division winner now after the Jordan Love's all-star performance on Sunday? I don't want to keep having to hear that crap after they play the Bears. I'm over this. But it's just the way it's going to have to be, at least until week 18 when they have to play each other again. But that's about all that we can talk about. That's all we can say about this game for now. So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all for tuning in. Just a quick couple of promos. Greg Gabriel will be on the Barroom Network tomorrow at 10 a.m. Special guest Dan Aguirre. So you're going to want to tune into that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of opinions on that show. But thank you to everyone who tuned into this show, whether it's the live version, the podcast version, the video version, however you may have watched or listened to this show. We greatly appreciate you. We love that you come and you cope with us, and we have our little therapy session here after the game. We were hoping it was going to be after a win, but it's the Bears. So of course we're going to try to, we're going to maneuver our way through a loss and see how we can move forward. But once again, I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in, whether it's later on tonight, tomorrow, or you're doing it right now, contributing in the chat room. We appreciate each and every one of you, and make sure you like and subscribe the YouTube page, and you do all the across all of our other socials as well. Come have some fun with us on Twitter at Barroom Network. But that will do it for us for this edition of Bear Football. For Coach T and Danny Shimon, I'm John Buffone. We'll see you next time.